formed as a group to promote the restoration and maintenance of the Jens Jensen landscape features located here in Evanston. We have remarkable examples of Jens Jensen's work here in Evanston. We have the Shakespeare Garden, which is the very first Shakespeare garden done in the country. And we have the Garden Wildlife Trail at the Lighthouse. And we also have the Jens Jensen Gardens. The combination of the three is unlike any other examples of Jens Jensen's work outside of the Park District.
Trying to raise awareness of the Jens Jensen Garden down at Harley Clark on the lakefront at Lighthouse Beach, because it's a beautiful example of the console ring and integrating the gardening into nature, and then you have the lakefront as a backdrop. So I think a lot of people will enjoy learning these 3 or 4 different places that we're going to. Oh, this is a great event. We have Bob Grese, who is an expert in Jens Jensen, and he's here speaking. We have over 110 people that signed up. They're watching the movie The Living Green by Carrie London, who has offered to allow us to use that film. And then we're going to go tour 3 gardens that are within a couple miles. We'll go see the Shakespeare Garden, then Bob will explain Mahoney Park Garden, Jens Jensen Garden in Kenilworth, and then we're going to go to the Harley Clark Jens Jensen Garden.
Well, we're taking the buses now to 3 of the Jens Jensen's gardens. Shakespeare Garden first, where actually my wife and I were married.
Plants. In this particular garden, the original idea was that we would have plants that were mentioned in various Shakespeare plays, not all of which would grow in the Chicago region. And so he basically challenged the Evanston Garden Club to experiment and to test out which plants they could grow well here, some of which might have been mentioned in Shakespeare's plays, but not necessarily all of them. There are a couple of signature Jensen features. The hawthorn trees at the end are things that he used in almost all of his landscapes.
Bob Grese, who is obviously an expert on Jens Jensen and all the history of the Shakespeare Garden, is not only telling us about how it came into existence, but the philosophy behind the aspects of the landscape and the construction, which I find incredibly interesting.
These are all people who are interested in Jens Jensen, because this is Jens Jensen Day, and I'm super impressed that this crowd of 150 people are so compelled to learn more about Jens Jensen and enjoy his gardens that they would come on this tour.
Shakespeare Garden in Evanston. I think it's amazing. I like the theory of doing it in the first place, but I've never seen it so lush.
It's magnificent.
Really cool.
It is beautiful. It is so gorgeous.
It was lovely.
It smells wonderful. We're here with 100 of our best friends who like Jens Jensen Gardens.
We're in Mahoney Park, which was designed by Jens Jensen back in the mid-1930s. This was a really good example of his park design, particularly a small park that is centered around a central sun opening. There's 2 parts of the park, one directly on Lake Michigan, the other here centered around a large open space together with council rings around the edges. And it's kind of a classical Jensen park with the path leading in the shadows around looking into the sunlight. And it's just still a very vibrant park that's maintained a lot of its integrity over the years.
Hi, I'm Bruce Johnson, and this is Mahoney Park that you see around you, and it was my grandfather, Marshall Johnson, who worked extensively with his father-in-law, Jens Jensen.
And then on this side there are 3 council rings, 2 full circle council rings on that side that are at the corners, and as I mentioned, those are places where he thought you should sit down. Everybody would sit around the circle at the same eye level. He thought they were particularly democratic in terms of a place that people could share stories, talk to each other. He encouraged people to walk single file on paths so you didn't talk as you were walking around the park, and then when you got to one of these council rings, you could sit and talk.
There are people who had the foresight and the courage to keep a space like this in the face of development. It's a model.
We're at the Harley Clark estate that was created by Jens Jensen back in the 1920s. What's special about this place is that it's a beautiful spot right on Lake Michigan. It was typical of a lot of the mansions that he designed in the landscapes. It's owned by the city of Evanston, and I think it's a great opportunity to really keep it for the general public to enjoy as a very special place, part of the heritage of the city of Evanston, and a connection to Jensen, who did a lot in shaping the Chicago landscape.
Because landscapes are so dynamic, there are so many things going on, light and shadow, views, hidden areas, the way that they excite and inform people who are enjoying them. So it's really great to be able to understand not only the flora but also the structure, you know, the stonework, the paths, that kind of stuff.
Features are the council ring, the view of the lake, and how he has the trees draped around it. That kind of, he always liked to have a clearing.
We are at the Clark Mansion, and it's absolutely exquisite. I am Bruce Johnson. I'm Jens Jensen's great-grandson. I've never been here before, and it's absolutely spectacular, and I'm very appreciative of the individuals who are trying to save this place and renovate it. You know, to have Jens Jensen's name live on means a heck of a lot to our family.